Have you ever struggled with thoughts of drinking after a long period of sobriety? It's probably more common than you think, but people rarely talk about it. Today is a special episode. It's really a raw, unedited coaching call with one of the members of my private women's group. Kim is someone who has been sober for over 2 years, but has recently been struggling with thoughts of drinking again. She was brave enough to be honest about how she was feeling with me, and we decided to record this conversation in hopes that it would benefit others who might be feeling the same way. We talk about what is actually causing her to want to drink again and some solutions that she can try. I'm treating this as an experiment, and if I get positive reviews on Apple Podcast or DMs on social media, then I will do more of these. If you would like to sign up for an anonymous coaching call, you can send a request by emailing me at arlena@soberlifeschool.com. And just a heads up, the conversation begins with Kim and I. We just kind of jump into it. This is the first episode of this type, so we decided to just let it unfold naturally. So, with that, please enjoy this episode and let me know what you think. You are listening to the One Day at a Time Recovery Podcast. On this podcast, my guests share their stories of alcoholism, addiction, and how they recovered so that you can too. My hope is that you find the inspiration and resources you need to let go of what's holding you back so that you can transform into the person you were always meant to be. Ready? Here we go. I actually have some notes. Yeah, I just thought it would be so interesting because you were right. Like, there's content that's created just for newcomers, and then there's stuff for long timers, I guess. But I don't think I had ever recorded an episode talking about what happens, when you've been sober for a while and those thoughts start to creep back in.
Yeah. I feel like it's almost like you're kind of like, like you should be further along by now. Like that's what I'm thinking is like, you're almost ashamed to tell somebody because like it's been 2.5 years. Like seriously, I should be further along. And the people that I've been kind of helping and supporting, I don't want to let down. So, and I don't know, and I've been like kind of just looking and look like what can I find for that speaks to this, like after a couple of years, the obsession has kind of returned and it's been a little bit incessant in my brain.
Okay.
And I'm fighting through it, I'm struggling through it, but it's like it's something I never thought would really come back. I thought it like it was gone. Like, like I was like so grateful that obsession had been lifted and I like felt like I
Yeah.
found the key. And then, I kept working on sobriety and I kind of kept growing and thought I was kind of like leveling up and like I could never feel that way again, that I would start having the same thoughts.
Yeah.
But it's funny. I don't obviously I don't have any experience with this because it's my first time
Yeah.
being sober for a long time and getting through the hard parts. And I think a lot of it's forgetting like what it was like what it was like to drink like that first year of sobriety was like I would every day was like I'd look forward to waking up in the morning without a hangover because it was all like
Yeah.
so new and exciting. Like I really
Yeah.
would look forward, like, and I was like amazed at how much time I had and amazed at the things I was doing. And I was, like just it was just all like so new and shiny and stuff. And then after a year, it was like I achieved the year like that was a big
Mhm.
thing. That was a big milestone.
That is a big milestone.
Yeah. And then after that, it was kind of like things sort of got flat and I was, and they were kind of, it was kind of like, it wasn't as new and shiny, but I did still remember how it was.
Mhm.
Then I had a lot of things happen. My sister passed away very suddenly.
Oh,
My
I'm so
son is,
sorry.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, she passed away from fentanyl, and she
Oh,
was an alcoholic as well. She had been sober, but she had relapsed, and made a bad choice. One of her friends sold her
Yeah.
a fentanyl pill, and so it was that. And I just had a lot. My son is a struggling alcoholic. I just had a lot of stuff happening like this past year. It's just been very, very, very hard.
Yeah.
And like I knew if I drank when she was after she passed, that I like literally would probably go off the deep end, because
Yeah.
I had grieved when I was, active before, and like and it was everything was so much worse, and it was, brought me to really dark places, and I knew I had to keep my stuff together. Um so I had started, going to counseling. Before she passed away, I had started going to counseling after I had achieved the year, and kind of was feeling like, okay, now what? I'm starting to have these thoughts again. And
Mhm.
the woman I was seeing was very good. She was also in recovery, so that helped, but she was far away. And then after my sister passed, I did start going to see another woman who I do still see. And
Okay.
she's helped a lot, but she's not necessarily in recovery. So I don't think she gets it all the time. So
Yeah, it's different book learning, and like you can understand theoretically, but experientially is that's a whole different thing.
yeah,
That's a
yeah,
whole different thing.
yeah. So
Tell me, how did you get sober?
I I did try AA. I had been like struggling for a long time. My mother was an alcoholic, so I grew up, around it. I was very aware of it. I had, some like jackpots when I was younger, like a DWI and stuff. But then I had my kids, and I was very, very, very determined not to be my mom. So I thought I was holding it together pretty good, and I did hold it together, like fairly good. But it was and I went to school for social services. I studied addiction. I volunteered at a rehab. I got in a relationship with a man who was recovery. Like I think I was always trying to like keep myself close to it,
Mhm.
like to as a like this way I won't fail, or like I won't fall into that trap. Like I was doing little things, but
Mhm.
it did eventually catch up to me anyway. So I was just starting to have a hard time with it. And it wasn't every single, I was getting really, really depressed when I drank. My husband and I, would fight almost every time I drank. The day after would be almost worse than when I was drinking, just because like the withdrawals and my emotions were like all over the map,
Mhm.
and crazy. And but anyway, so I did try to go to some AA meetings. I met a woman who, was my sponsor. And we're still really good friends. It just There was a couple of things that kind of happened that I it just AA, it would make me like want to drink when I went to AA. Like I'd
Mhm.
leave, and I would actually leave and go buy, a six pack and drink it on the way home and like cry. And I
Oh.
think it just stirred up all the like, the feelings of like inferiority. Like I had a really bad inferiority complex from when I was a kid. Like just didn't feel good enough, and like
Mhm.
in school, kind of being like, the kid that didn't really fit in. I was like the dirty kid. My mother was a very embarrassing alcoholic who everybody in the neighborhood, knew of. So it was just I think and like I couldn't really get through school. Like I quit school very, in the eighth grade after staying back a couple times in the seventh and a couple times in the eighth. I ended up quitting school because of that, mostly because I just didn't fit in. I did
Yeah.
After I had my son, I went back to got my GED and went to college, and but
Amazing.
yeah, but the AA, I think that's what I felt like. I just felt like it was very like I didn't fit in. Like all that like was screaming at me, like you don't fit, you don't fit. And I know people will say, like, oh, when I walked into a meeting, I think I've heard you say it, like, I was home. These were my
I
people.
did, yeah.
And then I'm like, well, why didn't I have that experience? Like, and then
Yeah.
my brain would be like, well, maybe you're not that bad,
Yeah.
So
Well, the reason I ask what the process, like, it's okay that you didn't get sober through AA, like, that's fine. I'm just curious, what was your process for quitting? Because I'm wondering, like, that. So, like, getting sober is all about changing your actions, right? So, I was just curious, like, what actions did you take to quit? Like, what helped you get that first 30, 100 days?
listening to a lot of podcasts, reading a lot of Quit Lit, and I'm in a group you've probably heard about, the BFD. It's a Facebook group. It's a closed group, like a secret, for people who are struggling with alcohol and want to be sober. And that group really helped me a lot. I mean, that was my support. And the friend who was my, sponsor, she still stayed in touch. She would meet with me, we would talk.
Did she have you working steps at all?
We tried. I tried. I got to like the part where I was starting to do the writing, and then I kind of bailed on her, and I kind of it was hard. Like I didn't realize how hard that was going to be.
Are you
It
talking
was,
about the fourth step?
yeah,
Oh,
like
okay.
writing. Like, and I did one turnaround with her, and it was like I just couldn't believe all the it wasn't like a conscious like this is too painful, I don't want to do it, but I feel like I probably made excuses to get out of it.
Yeah.
Um,
When you say turnaround, it almost sounds like a Byron Katie vernacular. Were you doing like a Byron Katie process or?
it was no, it was through AA. I mean, it was she's 100% AA.
Oh, okay.
But she would just I don't know, she would say when you get to the turnaround. So like I
Oh,
don't know if that
interesting. So okay, I wonder if she means so in the book Alcoholics Anonymous, it's your part.
okay. And that yeah, that's I think that's kind of what it was getting at. Like so I wrote one like, where I was
Like you addressed one resentment, like the person
yeah.
okay, and then how you were affected, and then what your part was in it.
Yeah, and then I read it to her and we talked through it and it was like it was exhausting. It was like one thing that I thought I had been over, So that but um and my sister, the one who passed, her best friend was also her sponsor. So she was going to try to do them with me. We were doing it together, but then she
Mhm.
moved. And then my friend, my original friend who I started with has put it out there a few times, like, I'm here if you want to do it and try it again, but I'm afraid of wasting her time. And like I'm like, I don't want to start and do it and not follow through with it. Again,
Yeah.
which is probably just, maybe it's just 60, but anyway, so that was kind of how I got sober was mainly, like I'd post. My husband was really supportive. He stopped drinking with me.
That's
He didn't,
awesome.
yeah, he didn't really have a problem. He smoked pot. He still smokes a lot of pot. He has since started drinking again, which, is probably part of
Mm.
what's going on right now. I'm feeling like, so like you said, you change things. I changed a lot of things, but my friends are still the same. I don't really have like a sober support group, like I
Yeah,
have
that's really
so
important.
sober people.
Mhm.
I still have, I have friends and most of them are normies, I guess, but some aren't. And I'm getting ready to go on a girls' cruise, and a lot of them aren't. And I'm like, why am I putting myself in these situations?
Yeah.
It's probably not a good idea. It probably, but I don't know. So yeah, that's kind of basically was just staying in the solution, and I was working out. I was, doing a lot of walking, a lot of exercising, started getting into art. So that how, all
Oh,
those things.
awesome. Hmm.
Yeah. So I can say lately that a lot of that's been lapsed because I've been busy with a lot of other things. But yeah. So
That's really good background. And there's a few things that are kind of coming up for me as I hear this. One is, I mean, the first thing that jumps out at me is that sobriety has to be a priority. And what that means is really like having a self-care practice that makes sense for you. When someone says the word busy, that means that there is a lack of priorities.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to shame you or
No, 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 no. I don't take
I'm
it
not
as
trying to make you feel bad.
no,
Um,
no. I can talk straight. I
yeah, but
appreciate
that's just kind of how it is. Like for me, sobriety had to be a priority.
it.
And
Mm-hmm.
and what that really meant is that I did the self-examination and the self-care. And when those things are taken care of, then I have like the emotional and spiritual, reserve to deal with the stress, right? Because really, the desire to drink, the obsession to drink is really in response to unresolved stress. And, community is so important. I don't know if you'd be willing to, try your, 12-step community again, but the purpose of going to meetings is so that you are constantly in review of the material and information and ideas that support sobriety. Really, it's like a mindset
Mm-hmm.
reinforcement type of thing. And if you make friends there, then there is an opportunity to be of service. So you're checking in with people, how are you doing? Like maybe running something in the, a position at the meeting or whatever. For me, it's just convenient because I kind of have everything all in one place. That's where the sponsor is, that's where the material is, that's where the opportunity to be of service, an
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to connect with others. And I wonder for you, since you have this reoccurring because of your history and what you shared about not fitting in, this is sort of like an opportunity for you to sort of confront that feeling. Like, is this really true? How can I develop connections and relationships? That usually a service is it like covers a lot of bases, right? So when you get into service, you are often doing service in conjunction with other people. So you kind of get to know them and you're doing something nice for others, which is a good self-esteem building exercise.
Mm-hmm.
There's this idea that to detox, this it has to come up so that it can come out, right? And these negative thoughts and beliefs like I don't fit in, when you go and walk into an environment like that and it brings up all those feelings, that's your opportunity to examine that thought. Is this really true? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And if what you're needing is connection or belonging, then it's like, well, that's actually a skill that you can develop. And so when you go to those meetings or any group really, like if your Facebook group serves that purpose or you have like if like I'm just throwing that out because like that's just the most convenient for me. Meetings were just kind of convenient in that way, but like you might have um like a arts and crafts group, or I don't know if you have a Phoenix group in your area. Do you know
No,
what Phoenix
I've never
is?
heard of that. No.
Yeah, the Phoenix is like this it's like a community of sober people. It's not a program or anything. It's just a community of sober people and they do activities. So sometimes they do crafting things or sometimes they do hikes or yoga or whatever. But it's just nice to have like activities that you can do with other sober people. But I really feel like that might be the missing piece for you is people in your life who are sober, who are
Yeah.
because there's this saying that we don't rise to the level of our expectations, we fall to the level of our training, and the training comes from your environment. So
Mm-hmm.
your environment will influence you in certain ways. So it's like the people. So if your husband's drinking again, if you go on the girls' trip and they're all going to be drinking again, it would be very easy to just step into that role again. And then you have to
Mm-hmm.
start all over again.
Yeah, and that's what I know I don't want. I know. I mean, I'm like, I recall saying, I don't know if I'd make it back because it took so long to get sober. And when I really
Yeah.
got it, even, and I just recently, after my sister passed, I started smoking again. I was like, well, it's better than drinking, but I was really needing something. And so then I've quit that recently, like 6 months or
Oh, that's
so.
awesome.
Hey, so it's like, I think that that's part of it because now I really don't have any vice, and not that I should need a vice, but
Well, what you're talking about is a coping skill.
yeah, yeah, and I
Like
don't have.
alcohol, yeah, okay, so let's get you some sober tools. And you don't have to
Okay.
go to a meeting and you don't have to. So
Yeah, and I'm
let's
not
talk about.
opposed to go to a meeting. I'm just afraid of feeling like that uncomfortable feeling and then being like, oh no, I like this made it worse or something. And
Yeah.
it's been a lot of it's been a lot of emotions. There's been a lot going, so much going on. It's been so much, kind of like negative and sorrow and stress. And, my sister was
Mm-hmm.
like, I took care of her all her life. We
Oh,
were very close. I mean, I was with her every day, I mean, it was just,
mhm.
and so it was just been like a lot. And I don't know, your brain starts telling you things and like, oh well, you might as well you might as well drink again, or
Yeah.
and then my husband, I'm like taking his inventory all the time. Like, I know he's not drinking till he falls down, he's not drinking like I did, but for some reason it's still driving me crazy. I'm like, oh well, you're drinking and you're smoking and and it's like
Yeah.
I can't like. And then, and my brain's like, everybody's drinking but you. And
Have you asked him not to drink?
he doesn't drink around me. He really doesn't. He still doesn't drink around me. It's just that he is, and I feel like, I like I let him down, or like, because I can't drink like a normal person, like all of our friends and all the people we hang out with, and at first he was very much on board with it. And but now I think he's retired. So I think he's kind of like he wants to, I don't know, be normal again, or maybe
Have
I don't
have you
know.
told him how it makes you feel?
Um, not, I mean, not really. Not in a probably in a grown up type of conversation, more like a side, comments and stuff like that. And like I said, he's not doing it around me. It's just, I know that my brain is telling me things that probably aren't true. I can't, like, um, I don't like this feeling of like constantly like that obsession, that obsession that I thought was
Yeah.
gone. It's like I cannot stand, like, it's like I don't want to think about it 24/7. I don't want to think about, it's taking all my energy thinking about drinking, not drinking again. And that just is kind of like driving me. I'm like, well, I know I
Okay.
need to get past it and I need to
Yeah.
move forward. And that's, so that's, I'm not, like, I'm not throwing in the towel because I know like that would just be crazy. Like, I do
I
know.
mean, listen, the truth of the matter is you can. You can. You can drink again and then, but you would have to be willing to pick up the price tag, right? And I don't know that it doesn't sound like that's what you want to do.
No, no,
Yeah.
I don't know. No, I mean, like, like I found myself saying, I think it's like I'm wanting a relief. I'm wanting like,
That's it.
yeah,
That's it.
like I want to be further than I am. I feel like when I like, I mean, I started drinking when I was 12 and I, drank other than pregnancies. I, did drink all the time.
Mhm.
So I was, when I stopped, I was like, I feel like a blank. Like, I don't know who I am. I've been waiting to find
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
personality, like to like, I'm like that's all I can think of to describe it, is like I'm like I felt like a blank, like, and I'm like, okay, people keep telling me to hold on and wait and your personality will fill in and you'll
Well,
learn your likes and all that, but
so I have a couple ideas about that because I'm a firm believer that the purpose of obsessive thoughts is distraction. And if you have feelings that are bubbling up and you don't have a way to process them to resolution, your brain is going to seek relief.
Mm-hmm.
Like you actually said it. And I was like, bingo, there it is. You're seeking relief. And what is it that you need relief from? It's probably the stress that is unresolved. And
Mm-hmm.
the reason that you're not, I suspect that the reason that you haven't like found your personality or like what you were saying, like you haven't found your, is because you're dissociated, like you're detached. And
Mm-hmm.
the purpose of dissociation is like, it's a survival skill, right? You're in survival mode. And
Mm-hmm.
so what I think probably needs to happen, you're talking about a need to be further along. You've said that a couple of times. And what I'm hearing is that there's some work that needs to be done in terms of addressing like the whole purpose of the 4 step is to sort of unpack your baggage and process your feelings to resolution.
Mm-hmm.
It's the self-examination process that will free you, but it does require some, you're going to have to feel your feelings, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like, I don't know if you considered maybe joining a grief group. It sounds like you have a lot of unresolved grief from your sister. And yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I could. I've been trying, I've, I'm trying, I've been processing it with the help of a
oh,
therapist.
right, right, right. You're doing okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's gonna take time, and there's a lot around it. There's a lot, like I
Yeah,
said, it just there's a lot of like I have a lot of anger and resentment towards pretty much everybody, but
yeah,
but it's like, the person who gave her the pills, and there's that whole aspect. And and it's just there's just a lot, there's been a lot of like an emotional um kind of not letting up, and like I'm like, not I think what I crave too is like like the highs and lows, or the spikes, or I mean that the
are you feeling too flat? I think you said it felt flat.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, like, not, I don't, I mean, I'm kind of, I don't want to, I'm not disillusioned, but your brain will be like, oh, you had that when you drank, like you could have fun, you could laugh, and now fun, and and I don't feel, and I don't feel like I'm fun. I really don't feel like I am a fun person, and I don't mean to be like all Debbie Downer, because I'm not normally such a negative person. I just This is how I've been feeling in sobriety,
yeah,
and it's just I miss that, like those extremes of myself, that
yeah,
not that those, and not like you said, the price tag that came with it, and they weren't all glamorous. They were pretty unglamorous actually, but it's I guess it's just that, like, that's everything's kind of the mundane and the same, and I go to work, and I'm it's just very mundane, I guess. I'm just not feeling the emotional highs and lows, and stuff that you get from, and then and it's like, well, some people, are California sober, and like, should I start smoking pot? But I know me, I know that that's not an answer. But it's
yeah.
like,
I'm gonna say no.
yeah, it's like that would never be enough. That would just tease me,
Yeah.
and I know, but it's like that's just where my brain has been at. But
Okay,
again,
so that was actually one of the questions I was going to ask you is what did you want to experience that you're not getting now? And it sounds like there's really a lack of joy in your life.
yeah,
Is that fair?
yeah, like a lack of, being able to be silly, let loose, let go, and like escape. I think that might come
Yeah.
right down to like escaping. Like, I want to
Yeah.
escape for 5 minutes and get a break from all of it. Get a break from all this, seriousness, and the
Okay.
grieving, and all the emotions, and the just, and I guess I don't know how to do that without, you know, um, a substance. I guess, I mean,
Oh,
when exercising definitely helped, and I haven't been doing that as much. So I
okay.
notice when I lax on that, it's like, um,
Yeah.
it doesn't help.
Exercise is the best antidepressant that there is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about some actions that you might be able to take that could change how you feel. Would you be open to that?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, I think the number one thing would be the exercise thing, like to
Hmm.
start incorporating that. That would be, I would consider that making sobriety your priority, like
Hmm.
because that's a self-care activity.
Okay.
Right. So self-care is really number one. And so an activity that you can do around that is exercise. Um, and then the second thing that I would recommend would probably be something along the lines of like a meditation practice. Have you
Hmm.
meditated in the past?
I have I've tried. I haven't done it well. I do try. I have a really, really short attention span, so it definitely it requires a lot of like, oh yeah, I got to pay attention. Oh yeah, like I have to
Yeah.
keep bringing myself back to it. But
Yeah.
I do, I use like Aura at night to help me sleep. So I do try, and I do enjoy it when I do it.
Yeah. So I just want to kind of reset your expectations about what meditation is because I hear from a lot of people I can't meditate because my brain keeps throwing up ideas. But that actually is meditation. So
Hmm.
meditation is the practice of just sitting down and focusing on your breath. And your brain's job is to think. So that's what it's going to do. And so, really, the practice is as soon as you notice that you're thinking, to sort of do a body scan, take a breath, and then
Hmm.
turn your attention back to the breath. And if your brain thinks 1,000 times in 15 minutes, then you just bring it back 1,000 times in 15 minutes. Do you know what I mean? So that
Yeah.
is that. So you are meditating. So if you have that, I think that's just like the little perception or mindset shift around meditation is that it's okay and it's to be expected and it's a practice and but that is the thing. It's just sitting,
So
sitting and
don't
trying
get hung up on not doing it correctly. And
that it yeah, exactly, because there is
yeah.
no correct.
Hmm.
It's just a practice. That's all.
Okay.
But you'll notice that if you meditate for, let's just say, a week, that you'll start to be aware that the spaces between the thoughts and noticing become longer, maybe, or
Hmm.
that your mood throughout the day feels a little more even, or the obsessive, intrusive thoughts about drinking aren't as severe, right?
Okay.
It's about being present in the moment. And so that I would highly encourage you to do that. So the exercise and meditation. And then it sounds like I would really encourage you to give the 4 step another shot because that is a great way to unpack the baggage. I mean, listen, it's so common. Like I remember when I first started going to meetings, people would do steps 1, 2, and 3 and relapse, 1, 2, and 3, relapse.
Yeah.
People, and I was terrified of drinking again. So I was like, that is not going to be me. I was,
Hmm.
I was bound and determined. So what I realized is that the 4 step is actually licensed to bitch. Like you have a captive audience in your sponsor, and she has to listen to all your bullshit. She
Hmm.
has to listen to everything. She has to listen to every complaint and resentment that you have. You have a captive audience. That is her job.
Yeah.
Her job is to hold space for you so that you can, talk about that fucker who gave your sister the drugs and how it affected you, right? Like
Hmm.
get really specific about the cause, like who it is, but get really specific about the cause, how it affected you. Did it affect your emotional security, which I would imagine? Did it
Hmm.
affect your self-esteem? Did you feel responsible? Did it affect your financial security, your peace of mind? I mean, I'm sure that your sister's death had a profound impact on you that will change who you are for the rest of your life. Like you were
Hmm.
different. Like that's, I lost both my parents and I'm a different person now. But
Yeah.
you find a new normal. But
Yeah.
and then the last column where you think about what your part is in it, um, it's really just it's a way to sort of it's a way to sort of just identify what you might do differently or how you might think differently. It's like what is my responsibility in this situation?
Hmm.
And it's that's where all the freedom lies because that's where the patterns start to emerge. But did you write down, did you write it all out and then it was the sharing part that was hard?
I only did like I actually only wrote down the first one, and
Uh-huh.
then we met to go over that one.
Okay.
And I mean, when I finished writing it, it was a bullying thing at work. I mean, and I'm, a grown woman, and I was a grown woman when it happened, and bully situations happen with grown women. I mean, I'm
Yeah,
sure
people are
like,
assholes.
yeah, women are bitches, and it was like something that really, really, knocked me for a loop, and took
Yeah.
me, took it took a chunk out of me, like, and took it it was a I persevered and got through, and I'm still at the same job and they're not. But I didn't, it was like I was like, okay, that's the first one I can think of, and I wrote it down, and I was like, I literally cried for probably like 20 minutes after I wrote it down. I felt like exhausted. I was like, wow, that
Yeah.
I thought that was, I thought I had moved through it, but it was kind of like the first thing I thought of, but it was, and then so I shared it with her, and it was fine. It was just, I don't know. I was probably avoiding afterwards because I knew it was probably. I'm like, if that was just, that was one of the easier ones. I'm like, what, this is going to be hard and painful, and you know,
Yeah.
but I keep sir, and you had like done it. You had done like a 12-step thing probably a year or two ago on
Yeah.
your,
Yeah.
and then I did that to a point, probably the same point. So it's like I keep saying, I know I want to do it, and people keep saying it's the key, and you have to get through it. And I'm like, okay, I have to do it. And then I'm like I said, I make excuses, or I tell myself, oh, but I'm going to actually, like, I am going to do it. Like, I'm not going to keep saying it. I am going to do it. Just because I'm like, I'm not going to drop the ball at the 99-yard line or
Yeah.
whatever, because
Yeah.
I would want to say I did everything, if right
Yeah.
now it would just be making a choice to do something that I know I don't want to do. And I know I don't know if I'd come back, and I don't, I just think it's just kind of the time and place that I'm in right now. But there's, I will get back to it. I've been kind of afraid to commit and ask her again, because it's like she's already started with me two or three times now. I've done it with the same woman.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, you know, oh, I'm sorry, I can't, whatever. If things come up, things do come up. And she's very understanding. And she just offered again. She's very, very, very nice. It's just,
Yeah, and don't forget that you're actually helping her too. Like she needs to be of service. Like there's that saying, you got to give it away to keep it. And the reason why they say that is because when I do a 4-step with somebody, it puts me back in touch with what it was like. It puts me back in touch with, it helps me to utilize, it makes me feel like all that stuff I went through wasn't for nothing.
mm-hmm,
Know what I mean? Because I can bring my experience, strength, and hope, and it's a when someone wants to do, they're doing me a favor because it wasn't like everything that I went through wasn't for nothing, but it also helps me remember the feelings, but it's also like a connection thing. Um, I don't feel like I feel so connected to somebody who is willing to be vulnerable and honest and share that stuff. Like it's such an honor. Like it makes me feel better about myself. Like, wow, somebody's really willing to trust me with this information, like it's
Mm,
a magical thing that happens. And so I just kind of want to reframe that for you a little bit, that you're doing something for her too. It's
yeah.
you're not simply receiving, like you having the courage to share what's really going on and being really honest and sharing your pain. That's an honor for her. Like that helps her too.
Okay. Well, thank
Yeah,
you for saying that. She has kind of said the same thing, you know, in so many words that it does help her as well.
it
But
does. It does.
yeah.
But I also want to give you a little like a little strategy, a little tactical mindset shifts that might help you a little bit. I did a podcast episode. I have a second podcast. I don't know if you knew that, the Self-Help Junkie podcast.
I did, yeah. I did start.
Lord have mercy, such a workaholic.
I know.
Uh,
I was like, doesn't she have enough?
no, apparently not. No, I'm insane. I'm just obsessed with all like the self-help stuff, because it's like it's so amazing how sometimes when we get some information and then we take some action, then we feel awesome on the other side of it, right?
Yeah.
Like you're in the middle of the four step. When you get all done and the other side of it, when you dump all that stuff and you like, I have never felt as high. Like my first natural high was when I did my fifth step with my sponsor. I read her the whole damn thing. It took us hours to get through, but she sat with me and I read her the whole thing. And
Mm,
I was so relieved when I left. I was like, oh my God. And I would just want to tell you that, like, if you shared one thing and you cried your eyes out, it's like that pain, like tears are pain leaving the body. Like you
mm,
needed to do that, right? It's a purging, it's a release. Like that is
yeah.
the release, the crying is allowing yourself to have your feelings.
Yeah, I was really, really surprised. I
Yeah.
truly felt exactly what you said. It was like, I don't know where that came from, but it was like came from deep down somewhere where I had must have locked it away because it was years, and it was probably like 10 years that that situation had happened,
And you had
10 years
been
before I, yeah.
carrying that around the whole time, and you needed to have a good cry.
Yeah, and not even realizing it. That's what shocked me the most because I was like, "Oh, I'm over this," but they still piss me off. But yeah, it was just
Yeah.
it was really really surprising. So
Yeah. And
I know.
if you've had that feeling of like not belonging, and then you have this experience at work where somebody is bullying you, that's again like a sense of not belonging,
Mhm.
right? And so I would imagine,
Reaffirming it.
right, yeah.
Yeah.
And so it just triggers all that stuff. But these experiences that we have are actually happening for us, right?
Hmm.
Because if it brings it up, that means you get to process it to resolution. Like you got to feel it to heal it.
Yeah.
And I know it sucks, but when you're done with it, and then you don't have to carry it. Because when you said, I was surprised, like I didn't know that it was there, like I didn't know that this was, if you had that experience with just this one thing, then can you just imagine like all the other repressed stuff that needs to come out?
Mm.
There's a lot in there that it's like you're feeling flat because we don't get to choose, we don't get to pick and choose the feelings. It's like if we cut ourselves off from the pain, we also cut ourselves off from the joy.
Mm.
Like if when you shut down, you shut everything down. And the feeling of like when you get drunk or when you drink and you like let go and let loose, it's because that filter is removed.
Hmm.
But why not siphon out all the pain and just dump it and get rid of it, and then you burn your inventory after. I mean, I've done that many times. It's like you write out an inventory, you dump it, and you put it in the bonfire,
Hmm.
burn it, and you release it.
Yeah. Yeah, I will definitely try. I will commit to that
Yeah,
because
I want you to stop using that word try.
all right, I will do it.
Yeah,
I will
either you're
commit
going
to
to do it or you're
it.
not
Yeah.
going to do it. If you don't want to do it, that's fine. But there is
Yeah.
no such thing as try. Either you do it or you don't. Do
Yeah.
you know
No,
what I
you're
mean?
I
Try.
do.
Yeah, try is a bullshit word that gives you an excuse not to do it. So it's
Okay.
cool if you don't want to, but
No, I do want to. I
okay.
want to. I guess I do want to.
I can
And
see
I'm
it in
like,
you. I see
yeah,
it in
I
you.
totally
Yeah.
want to do it. I guess I'm
Yeah.
just, it's probably fear or
Yeah,
whatever,
it's gonna
but
be fucking
I
hard.
have to.
Yeah, that's all
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
So
It's gonna be fun.
here's the little strategy tip I wanted to give you. So when I was, because I went off on a tangent about the other thing.
Mhm.
So I was doing this research on procrastination, right? Like why do we procrastinate?
Mm,
And what I found is that procrastination is actually a stress response, right? The fear of doing something like a four step is so overwhelming that our brain wants to distract, right? So the first step is to forgive yourself. You acknowledge I have the stress and bring some compassion to that feeling like, oh, this is really stressful. Listen, this is going to be a big deal. I'm not going to
mhm,
pretend like it's not. It's painful and it's not easy. It takes courage. And so forgive yourself for the stress. It's like, oh, this is a natural response to what I'm facing, right? So that's kind of the first step. And then the second step would be sort of like this James Clear. Are you familiar with Atomic Habits? So Atomic Habits, it's like you just take tiny little baby steps. A little tiny baby step over time has a large impact, is kind of the thesis of the whole book. And so the next step is like once you notice you're in stress response, you forgive yourself. And then the next step would be like, what would be like all of the tiny little steps I would need to take to start the inventory? So it's like, well, deciding on a time, right? You put it on your calendar. You decide, I'm going to spend 15 minutes. Well, he talks about doing things in 2 minute increments, just 2 minutes. So it's
mhm,
like, well, shoot, well, I could make a list of people I'm pissed at. That probably won't take very long. That might take a couple minutes, right? And then you put it down and you walk away. And
mhm,
then you decide, okay, what would be the next thing I could do in a 2 minute increment? Well, you might just take the first one and get really specific about one cause. Like, what was the cause of the resentment? Like something very specific. So maybe you might build momentum and that just might get you started. But if you just take that first step and think, what activity could I do that would only take 2 minutes? And that way you're not trying to, then it's not the inventory, then it's just 2 minutes.
mhm.
And you might build momentum and it might carry you through the whole thing. But if you can do 2 minutes, that is the win. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It does. It's kind of how I get myself to clean the house. I'll be like, I'm gonna spend 1 hour in this room, and I'm stopping at the end of the hour. And usually, at the end of the hour, it's either already done or I'm on and I want to keep
Yeah.
going. So,
An hour,
but
an hour is amazing. Yeah. When it comes to when it comes to emotional and dealing with painful things, like 2 minutes is fair.
yeah, yeah.
Like, don't try to grind this out and torture yourself. You know what I mean? Like, if you think
Mhm.
you can do 15 minutes, fine. If you think you can do an hour, but it's how can we lower the bar so that it doesn't feel overwhelming? That's kind of
Okay.
the idea.
Okay. Yeah, no, I can do that.
And then the other thing I would suggest is putting it in a SMART goal. Are you familiar with SMART goals?
Um,
I can just rattle it off.
Sort of like smart, it's like smart objectives, like
Yeah, it's an acronym for specific, actionable, measurable,
okay,
time-bound, and reasonable. I did it in the wrong order, but that's all the things.
right. I get it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So then I guess my question for you is like if you were going to put it on your calendar for like a 50, like maybe you could do 15 minutes every day. Is there a time of day that you could put it on your calendar that I'm just like, I'm going to do this every day for 15 minutes?
Yeah, I would have to do that in the morning.
Morning time?
Yeah, morning is really my best time. By the time
Yeah, me too.
by the time I get out of work, I'm like, that's, I'm done.
Yeah.
But but morning is definitely doable to set up 15 more minutes, or,
Yeah.
do something, prepare a little bit more the night before, so I'm not running around looking for a pair of socks
Perfect. Yeah. Get
before
all your
work.
clothes out, your food the night before. Yeah. Um, And then, so like you could do like maybe a 5-10 minute meditation and then maybe 5 to 10 minutes of 4-step writing. Is that
Yeah.
reasonable?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I would have to reach back to her and tell her I want to take her up on the offer again. And she would probably want me to start over, like,
On step one?
yeah, and go through the whole and then read together. She might or might not. I don't that's how we've done it in the past. So I would have to
Well, you
ask her.
could ask her if she would be willing. I mean,
Yeah.
you're not a newcomer. You've been sober 2.5 years.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
might
yeah.
ask her, would you be willing to get right? Like, just tell her, I feel like I really need to do the 4-step and I need to get into it. I need to get rid
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah, because I know I bought the workbooks to do it myself.
Yeah.
And they're still sitting on my bedside. So
Yeah.
yeah, I
There's
feel
an
like
old
I definitely need accountability.
Yeah, there's an old saying that we can't read the label from inside the jar. And girl, you are in it.
Yeah.
You need support. And then that would be the other thing is as you're writing, if feelings come up, um, do like regular check-ins because it's stressful and it would be good. Like even if you use like the Facebook groups or whatever, like you could even do it in our group or whatever, the ODAT group, to just be like, hey, I'm working through this thing. I'm just checking in because I feel stressed out. Like if that's all you said, I'm sure that you would receive a lot of support and encouragement. And yeah, I think it just there's something about just saying it out loud or sharing it that kind of takes the power out of it.
Mm, definitely. It's like the last thing that you want to do, but then when you do it,
Yeah.
in my experience, every time I've done that or reached out for help, it's been like, or like they say, lifting the 10,000 pound phone,
I
like
know.
lifting it, and it's like, oh, it really does work. Like it really does work. It just, and I
Yeah.
don't know why. Even listening to your podcast, Angela Pugh, you guys are like my two main.
Woohoo!
I'm like, you're my BFFs. You don't even know it.
Yay.
But when you
Wow,
guys
love
had each
that.
other on each other's show, I was like, oh
Yeah.
my God, this is like, Fantasy Island comes to the Love
Oh
Boat.
my God, you're so cute. Stop it. I'll be impossible to live with from now on.
Yeah. So, but
Yeah.
yeah,
So have you heard me talk about the willingness calls?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I have. I mean, I've heard you talk about them, but I
Yeah, I'm
can't
not going to try to quiz
recall.
you, but yeah, so but if anyone else is, doesn't know what like a willingness call, I'll just run through it real quick, which is the idea is that we call when we feel good because when we feel bad, it's very hard. But
Mm,
but that is the idea is that you train yourself to pick up the phone and text somebody or call somebody, just be like on a regular basis so that when the shit hits the fan, you're already in the habit of doing it, right? It's like
okay.
we expect that we will be able to pick up the phone
Hmm.
when we feel bad, but if we haven't been training for it, then that's that saying. It's like we don't rise to the level of our expectations. We fall to the level of our training. And when you feel crappy, like you need to already be in the habit of it. So I would
Hmm.
just encourage you to, find a few people that you can kind of check in with on a regular basis. Whether you're just like dropping a note into the Facebook group or texting a friend, or you could text me, just checking in, you know, that way if the shit hits the fan, then you won't quit on the process, you
Hmm.
won't drink, and you won't be alone, right? Like you don't have to do this alone. And alone, isolation is a survival skill, so it's just, we're retraining a little.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you don't have
Yeah.
to do this by yourself.
Yeah, and that's I definitely that's my MO, is to isolate when
Yeah,
when things are, getting I isolate, and
I know, me too.
yeah.
I do it too. I've been sober for 30 years, and when I feel shitty, I just want to turn on Netflix and zone out. And,
Yeah.
and sometimes
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you do what you got to do, but yeah, I suspect that the exercise and meditation will start to help with the stress. And then the inventory will help you resolve some of those painful feelings, and you'll start to feel more joy. And that would be just the other part of it. I was going to ask you, I wrote some questions down before our call, but what did you enjoy as a little girl? You know, what I want you to just think about it over this next week or so, and we'll have to probably check in. I want to check in again. But joy is something that you can cultivate, right? And so getting in, like, the meditation will help you get reconnected to your feelings and start thinking about what was it that you enjoyed when you were young, and start cultivating. You need to have some fun. Like, all work and no play makes Kim not happy.
I agree. I agree. And I just
You need to have some fun.
I need to have some fun and I need to be like comfortable enough in my own skin. I think, I mean I think it's just something that even though it's been 2.5 years, of the first year I was really actively, sobriety, sobriety, sobriety. The year and a half has been kind of just hanging on, coping, and I've been in survival mode for, all the other things going on. So I
Yeah.
haven't like invested a lot into like how to grow a little bit more. I've been just hoping it would just happen. Like,
Yeah.
like, okay, I took away the alcohol. I was hoping that maybe organically it would just materialize. But
Yeah.
I have literally, like I said, I started drinking when I was 12. And,
Yeah.
so I don't know that I've ever really discovered that was the only time I could ever like develop a personality was to be the life of the party, to be the fun one, to be the crazy one, and
Mm.
that was, my,
As your identity.
yeah.
So we
So
need to develop an alter ego that you can grow into, the fun
yeah,
Kim, sober fun Kim. The
yeah,
we
yeah,
need a fun identity for you to grow into. You need to have some fun.
yeah, yeah,
And then if
yeah.
you're having fun and you don't feel stressed, the obsession will leave you again.
Yeah, I mean, I take my grandson, and I take him every other weekend. So that is like that is my fun. That
Yeah.
is that I can be myself with him.
Nice.
I think it's very comfortable to be with children, too. Like
Yeah, for
they're not
sure.
judging you. They're not, I mean,
Yeah.
and I just love them and adore them
Ah,
and
pure
fun.
joy. Yeah.
Yeah, it truly is. So,
Yeah.
and that's another reason that I know, like, I'm like, I cannot,
Ooh, yeah.
there's no reason I just can't. I mean, that was one of the reasons that I stopped drinking on Christmas Day was for my sister was here and she was sober at the time and she was
Mm,
mad that I was drinking. And
mm.
I said, I'm just having one and, don't worry about it. And then, it was like 12 beers later, I'm, throwing up and midnight on Christmas Eve. Um, I was hoping that my son didn't bring my grandson over because I wanted to drink. Like
Yeah.
that was all I wanted to do. And I was like, and so, I let her down. I let him, and that was kind of what clinched it. And I quit on Christmas Day,
Yeah.
for those kind of reasons. And it's like, the alcohol made me not want to be with the people that I love the most. I
Yeah.
mean, that was like really like kind of eye opening. Like, I just didn't care and I would have, ran them over to get the alcohol that day. That was kind of
Yeah.
how I was feeling. So it was a little bit of an eye opener.
Well, it's good to remember and get in touch with the pain of those situations. That can be motivation to stay sober, and I think there's hope in cultivating some joy and relieving you from some stress, and then you can just keep trudging the road of happy destiny, as they say.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're gonna reach back out to that gal. When do you think you'll be able to reach out to her?
I'm gonna send her a text when we get off this call, and
Okay.
and just hit her up and ask her. Like I said, she just offered very recently again.
Yeah,
So
and
I'm
just
gonna hit her up
see
and
what she says about getting right into the 4-step. Just let her know that you're struggling and you would really like to jump into it.
okay. Okay.
See what she says. Hopefully she'll be flexible and
Yeah, yeah,
you
she
might
might.
ask your husband to quit drinking too.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I think that's
Anyway,
another
that's
thing.
just, yeah, maybe not. I
Yeah,
don't know.
I got to deal with
One thing at a
that
time.
situation. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
listen, thank you so much for spending some time with me. I think I really learned a lot. And I didn't really, when you said, do you have an episode about that? And I was like, nope, but I think we should do one.
Oh, thank you. I know. Yeah, thanks a lot. It was nice to meet you. I was like, oh, I just want to
Yeah.
meet her anyway. And
Yeah.
but like I definitely am willing to do whatever I have to do to it's like I'm in
Yeah.
it, I'm in it. I'm like I'm not
Yeah.
giving up. But
And listen, I
I
just
don't want
want
to
you to,
feel like this anymore.
yeah, I don't want you to feel like that anymore either. And you are officially further along than you were before we started. You're making
Yeah.
progress, so that's awesome.
Yeah. Well,
All
thank you
right,
very
my dear. Well,
much.
I'm going to check in on you. So I'll help you with, I'll support you with a little accountability, and just text me and let me know how it goes with your sponsor.
Yeah, I will. I appreciate it. And then maybe when I get to the other side of it and I actually do it and
Yeah,
I can report back and let you know
yeah, and
if you
check
were
in.
right.
Listen, as long as you feel better, that's what I care about.
Yeah.
All right, my dear, you have a great rest of your day. We'll talk
Thanks. You too.
soon.
All
Okay.
right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. One last thing before you go, if you enjoyed the podcast today, please don't forget to subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher and leave a review. And if you'd like to make a donation to the podcast and help me keep the lights on, you can do so by visiting odatchat.com. There's a donation button or membership button on the right-hand side. Have a great day. Thank you so much for joining us.